Welcome to Secrets of a Seven-Figure Coach, the podcast for coaches, consultants, and creative entrepreneurs who want to hit between $100K and $1 million in annual revenue. I'm Beck Keane, your host and business mentor. On this podcast, I'm sharing the mindset, strategy, and energetics required to create a multi-six-figure business and beyond. Before becoming a coach, I grew 3 successful businesses. I'm an award-winning business owner who built and exited $1 million consulting firm and an industry-leading app that won awards back in 2016. And that all happened before I started my own coaching business, which has since generated over $2 million in lifetime revenue in part-time hours. I'm taking you behind the scenes from my very first 10K month to my very first 100K month. I'll also bring in coaches and consultants who have scaled their own coaching businesses so you can learn real-world tools and strategies from others who have walked the path. If you are a coach, consultant, or creative entrepreneur looking to 2 to 4x your revenue while also having an incredibly rich personal life, this podcast is for you. Hello, dear one, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. In today's episode, I want to talk about what is on the other side of your fear. In this episode, I'm going to share a story about a really big move that I made in my own business and what happened on the other side of that. And the reason I'm going to be sharing this story is because this particular move terrified me. Like, it was burning inside of me, this thing I really wanted to do. And I couldn't get out of my head, and I couldn't get on that other side of that fear. All the narratives, all the usual stuff was holding me back. And finally, I did it. And I jumped, I leapt, I did the thing, which of course I'm going to share with you what that thing is. And here I am on the other side, having done this really big, incredible thing. And the power, the momentum, the possibility, the aliveness that is flowing through my body is next level. Like, I feel next level epic. I feel completely alive in my soul, in my being, lit up. And I want this for you. I want this for everyone. So let's rewind the clock here for a hot second. It was actually a year ago, maybe 11 months. And I had signed up to work with a coach, and I joined her membership. She has a high ticket membership. And one of the bonuses was a Voxer day. And so Voxer, for those of you who aren't aware, it's a voice messaging app where you can talk back and forth. It's easier than sending like a voice memo on text because you can actually leave a longer message. And it's a really incredible way to both give and get support. So Voxer is something that I use with my own clients where, I mean, some people just buy Voxer coaching and we go back and forth throughout the day. We don't actually have Zoom meetings or Zoom calls, and it's all done on Voxer. And so I was so excited about having this opportunity to meet with my brand new coach, brand new mentor, and have a Voxer day with her. And we were talking about like upleveling and how I could bring my revenue to the next level. And one of the things she asked me, which I now ask all my clients, was something to the effect of, what are you not doing right now in your business because of fear? So if fear were not in the picture, and I'd love to invite you to reflect on this question throughout this podcast. And whether it comes to you right now or it comes in the coming days, it doesn't matter. It's asking the question, like opening yourself up to that possibility and to the answer to come on its own time and its own terms. That's so powerful. Everyone thinks like we have to have an answer to a question, but once we have the answer to the question, like the possibility is kind of gone. So it's kind of fun just to ask the question and see what happens. But for me, in that moment, when she asked me, what are you not doing right now out of fear? I said, I really want to host an event in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is my hometown. I live outside of Halifax. And although I have hosted retreats and events internationally, I've done retreats here in Nova Scotia, I've done retreats in Hawaii, many, many retreats in Hawaii. It's sort of become one of my signature offers. The idea of doing something locally, it's been present for some time, but I wanted to do it in a really different way than I had done things in the past. And that's the part that scared me. It felt like such an unknown, such a, it felt a bit intangible in that I knew what I knew. I knew how to host retreats. I knew how to rent cottages, gather women together, put on an incredibly transformational program, like a multi-day program. I'd also very early days done single day retreats here in my house. The vision I had for this particular event, which I had yet to do or yet to name, terrified me because it was bigger, bolder, braver than anything I had ever done. And I had this very specific vision. Here's the thing, like it was so specific. I could see the event space and it was at a particular hotel here in Halifax. The name of the hotel is the Muir, and it's definitely an investment to stay at the Muir. It's a high-end, luxurious experience. And for whatever reason, it was through my body, through my veins. The vision was this incredible room at the Muir, which I had seen a couple photos of. And for whatever reason, like that was the space I wanted to host in. So this was a year ago that I spoke this out loud to my coach, and I said, well, if fear was not in the way, I would host an event in this waterfront location at this hotel in Nova Scotia. And my coach, who lives not here in Nova Scotia, was like, as I was describing this space, I'm like, oh, it's this beautiful glass walls. It looks right over the waterfront. She's like, oh, is it at the Muir? And I'm like, how do you know this? And she's like, I stayed there. She celebrated, I think, her first $1 million month at the Muir. And I was like, okay, what are the chances that I'm talking to my coach about this like random hotel in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and she knows the room. Like she stayed in the very room. I was like, I got like this is it. This is a sign I have to do this. So I communicated with the events people at the Muir. I went to see the space, and when they told me the price to rent the space, oh my gosh, I felt sick to my stomach. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to look for other spaces. Like that's a lot of money. I don't know that I can invest that sort of money in an event space, like for an event. I don't know if I'll make my money back. And I looked at other spaces, but this space just kept coming back to me. And when I went to see it, I mean, it was everything. Like it's the kind of place you walk in and you gasp. Like it was exactly what I wanted. And the money frightened me. The money scared me. The level of investment scared me. Well, after looking at a few other event spaces and let's say sitting with it, running the numbers, crunching the numbers, I was like, you know what? This is burning inside of me to the extent that I absolutely must do this. I'm willing to do this without attachment to even to the revenue. Like, yeah, of course it would be nice to break even. It would be nice to actually make some money from this. But I felt like I needed to do it, even not about the money. Even if I was going to lose money, I was like, I have to do this. It didn't make logical sense. And our minds really want to make things make sense. We're very like humans are logical people, right? Like we want the plans, we want the structure. A lot of people use trying to control the outcome of something because it makes them feel safe. And this is just a very human behavior, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It just is. But I also know that The times I've taken action in my business where it didn't make logical sense were the times where my business completely catapulted. Those times, for example, when I was a brand new coach with very little experience, definitely no money to spend. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and heard angels singing out of my bedroom, woke up like with, the kind of like just sitting up completely awake. I hear these angels singing. I saw a event space, a home in my mind. And the message that came through the download at 4 a.m. as that brand new coach was about renting a house on the South Shore of Nova Scotia to host my first overnight retreat. Before my mind could catch up with like my soul and my knowing, I got up at 4 a.m., got my credit card, went on Airbnb, looked at the houses that were available, and booked one of them to host my first overnight like weekend retreat versus I'd previously only done single day retreats for like $100 at my house. And this was going to be in the thousands that I would charge. That it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense that I would follow like these angels singing who told me to rent a house. And then that very house was actually on Airbnb and it happened to be available. Well, fast forward a few months, I ended up having to rent 3 houses. People all over the world came to that retreat. I mean, it blew my mind. And then I started hosting retreats regularly, which became, a significant part of my business, but also such a confidence booster for me to host women and to facilitate transformation, as well as like learning the business aspect of running retreat and how to make sure my costs were covered, how to upsell at the end of a retreat, because I've discovered that after people are on retreat with you, they actually want to hire you as a coach. So learning all of that came out of what I would call like this illogical decision. And so fast forward 2 years later, a year ago, actually, it would have been less than a year ago now, where I'd seen the space at the hotel and I was like, I have to do this. It doesn't make financial sense. It doesn't make logical sense if I put the math on paper to do this. But it felt so strong, so sure. It was one of those ideas where, and I'm sure you've had them, it's like it just kept knocking, it just kept coming to me. I had to do it. So I rented the space. It was scary. And the other part that I want to say and I want to talk about here is this wasn't just about the money. Okay. Like, yes, it was more than I had put towards renting a space before. And there was also a level of permission in here in terms of what I allow myself to want, to have, to desire. Hey, coach, are you interested in healing your relationship with money? Do you want to completely upgrade your money mindset? I have a life-changing, game-changing, transformational, audio-only program called Money Magnet, which is designed to help you heal your relationship with money, upgrade your money mindset so that you can call in more, so that you can create more money, more sales, more revenue, more abundance in your life. If you're interested in Money Magnet, we will put the link to join that program inside the show notes. It is a completely audio program and you get immediate access to the entire thing. It is set up into 20 different days. You can binge the whole thing right away if you like, or you can spend the next few weeks listening to it. This is one of my #1 best-selling programs for changing your relationship, healing your relationship with money, and I'd love to see you in there. This hotel is way more luxurious than any hotel I've ever stayed in. The staff are like so incredibly friendly and look after you in a way that like you don't get in your average hotel. the finishes. Like it's the kind of place that you walk into and you actually want to be dressed up, at least for me. And so there was this level of giving myself permission to want that type of experience in my life. And in order for me to give myself permission to do that, I also had to believe like I am worthy of that. And I can't remember if I've ever shared this on my podcast before. I'm sure I have, but one of the first masterminds that I invested in included a in-person retreat in LA. And I had to really work through a ton of limiting beliefs I had around myself, like belonging in those spaces. And it's for whatever reason, for me, like there's been this material component to it in that, like, am I allowed to dress that way, to look that way? Do I fit that part? Because, we grew up and one of our family values was very much nature and being in the forest. And I don't know that humble is a word I have ever used to describe my parents. What I'll say is this is like, I don't think they placed a huge importance on material possessions, right? Like they never owned the fanciest car. My I wouldn't say that my mom shopped in, like high-end luxurious boutiques. In fact, I know she didn't. So there was definitely like a practicality about my family. And from a really young age, though, I always remember like I wanted the brand name clothing. I wanted the high-end experiences. I wanted to fly first class. I wanted to drive a car with leather seating on the inside. And these wants felt different or have felt different. And whether it's true or not, I mean, it's a conversation to have with my mom, but like they felt different than how I grew up. And so anytime we have a vision that's different than how we grow up, subconsciously there's a concern or there's a worry that we won't belong. So if you are trying to stretch yourself and do something different than how you were raised, or maybe something wasn't modeled for you, if wealth or luxury experiences wasn't modeled for you, then it's going to feel challenging to do that for yourself because you didn't see that. You weren't conditioned to, like, that wasn't a part of your upbringing. And so to go and give yourself permission to want that, to have that, to desire that, to go for that, it's a brand new experience. And so there's going to be stretching required. So for me, renting the hotel space, renting that event location stretched me in the same way that paying for my first class ticket did. It was, yes, it was about the money, but it was also about who I wanted to become and was I worthy of becoming her. And all of that was running through me as I approached hosting this event. The name of the event, by the way, is called Powerhouse. And my vision was to gather powerhouse women together to share experiences with each other, to uplift, inspire, to help women move through their blocks, move through their conditioning, the things that are holding them back, so that they can go for their next level. My whole path has been about really leveling up how I live, how I lead, how I coach, how I treat myself, my inner landscape, my outer landscape. Like it's all been about getting to another level. And when I say that, it's not necessarily about getting to another level of income, although that is certainly a part of it. It's actually more about becoming the version of you that believes they are capable and deserving and worthy of operating at a different level and really getting in tune and getting in alignment with who you want to be. And so for me, this was like a massive permission slip. I wanted to stay. And I can feel my like inner 8-year old, 12-year old, 16-year old, the one who was like, no, I want to stay in a fancy hotel. Like, and the funny thing is, I love camping. Like, oh my God, I love camping. I love hiking and all of that. And also, I really love staying in really nice places. So I hosted Powerhouse. And if you could see me, you would see the smile on my face because it was next level. It was epic. It was all time. Like it will go down as a highlight of my life. And that might sound dramatic, but that's very much how I feel. From the time I checked in, used the valet parking, had somebody get a cart and bring all my stuff to my room and put it in my beautiful, incredible suite. The flowers that I ordered from the local flower shop, which is actually called The Flower Shop in downtown Halifax. The flowers were so beautiful. The space was everything. Like imagine 3 glass walls overlooking the harbor. It was expansive, it was luxurious. The food was delicious. We were so taken care of. And when I went downstairs to like go for a walk or get myself a coffee, the staff knew my name. They called me by Ms. Keene. They asked me if I needed anything. And that whole experience of like renting the most luxurious suite in the hotel. And then, yes, of course, the staff know who you are. I loved that. Like, I really absolutely loved that. And I think a previous or older version of me would have judged myself for wanting that, or it would have judged other people who, air quotes, live that way. And so, part of the work, part of up leveling, part of getting to your next level is again, it's about allowing yourself to want what you want and letting go of society's expectations and conditionings and those outdated stories and narratives that were actually implanted in your mind that you inherited from someone else, and giving yourself permission to go after what it is that you desire in the way that you desire it. So many people are even creating offers and selling things that they don't even really want to sell. And then they wonder why they feel disconnected from their business, or they wonder why the money isn't flowing in. You've got to love what you do. And in order to love what you do, you need to do the things that you want to do. And so for me, this felt like the ripping off of a band-aid, a huge band-aid, like a lifetime of band-aids, if that's possible, where I hosted the actual event that I really wanted to host. The other piece I want to say about this is previous retreats that I have done, which have all been incredible and amazing. And I've done a lot of retreats with a partner, with someone else. And I wouldn't have known it at the time, but looking back, there was an element of my vision that I didn't let my vision be big enough. And this is not to blame anybody that I have ever partnered with. I like that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that sometimes when we create with other people, we are limited, we become limited by how your version and how their version comes together. And so if one of you has a different mindset than the other person, then the creation, then your full creation may not come to life. And so I can see how, and it's all perfect in that I needed to host the retreats that I've hosted in the past in order to host this event, in order to host Powerhouse. Like it's all a perfect trajectory. And so hosting Powerhouse was giving my vision the full range to be my vision. Whereas previously, my vision may have been capped by my own mind, but also by other people's minds. This is the work, people, to not let the limits of your mind hold you back, because your mind will only give you, like, if you operate by what your mind is giving you, that's limited by what you have seen or what you believe you're capable of. And most of us don't know our own power. I mean, this is the work I'm here to do in the world, is to awaken particularly women, of their own power so that you will actually go for it. And you'll take that lid, like take the cap off your income, take the cap off what you think is possible, pull that off. It's like bust the roof out so you can jump out of the box. Like this is the vibe, people. And so previous retreats may not have been as luxurious as I wanted them to be, but it was also, I had never allowed myself to be supported in that way. And all my past retreats had some element of, like, I'll call it a disaster, a very first world disaster, but like maybe the house wasn't as clean as I wanted it to be. And so I ended up cleaning, or the food didn't meet my expectations. Or, I mean, in my most one of my more recent Hawaii retreats, we rented this space that ended up like really being run down and dirty, and the level of support from the staff at the space wasn't there. And the whole time felt like I wasn't delivering upon what I wanted to deliver to my guests and my clients. Anyway, this past event, Powerhouse, like I was so supported. This is where I'm trying to go with this last tangent here, is I was so supported. The staff was so incredibly supportive to me. And I really was able to show up. Now, there's also was a lot of planning, obviously, that goes into this, but I was able to just show up and be in my power and be in my element and host, coach, be there for the people who came. And I didn't have to worry about a single thing. Like the staff was so attentive, and clearly like events is what they do. Like they know how to support someone who's creating an event, and the price reflects that. But even that, for me to acknowledge that I am worthy and deserving of that level of support, I mean, that took some time to get there. And I see this with people like who are in their business and they're doing all the things themselves and they're not hiring support. And they're like, oh, I'll just do it by myself. I mean, let's let ourselves be supported. And I could talk about this from a family lens too, right? Like the women who are juggling, and men, the men and women who are juggling, children and babies and housework and cooking plus their business, and they're not getting help, and they're not getting support in their home, and they're not getting support in the business, right? Like there's the financial piece of this, of making those investments, but there's also the permission slip of giving yourself permission. And that's really what I wanted the message of this particular podcast to be, is like, in giving myself permission to host the event that I wanted to, I gave myself permission to play at this entire new level. So here we are. It's a week past Powerhouse, and I am still on this absolute high. And here's the incredible thing that I want to share with you. Having hosted Powerhouse, I now see this path for myself. If you could see me, I'm smiling so hard, like my cheeks hurt from smiling. I can see this path for myself that I couldn't see before. I could not see the level that I'm currently dreaming of and actioning before. I had to do this. I had to do Powerhouse in the way that I did it in order to unlock that next level. So a lot of people wait, and you wait until you say you're going to wait until it feels safe, or until you feel ready, or until you have the money, or until blah, 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 until your husband says that he thinks it's a good idea, or whatever your reason for staying small is. And what has to happen is you actually have to take the action in order to see the next step, in order to get to the next place. So maybe you don't have full clarity on what your offer should be, or what that full offer should be, but you have a starting point and you're waiting for the full vision. Well, actually, you need to take action on that starting point. It's by taking action on the things that come to us that we unlock our next level and that we build our confidence and that we can see the next thing. And so many people hold themselves back because they want it to be perfect, or they want to feel ready, or they want to have the money first, or whatever the thing is. They need someone else. They want the full plan. They want to be certain. You want to be certain that it's going to happen and that your vision is going to come to life in the way that you dictate it to come to life. Like, that's not very fun. Like, let's let the universe play with us here. Let's, yes, put something out there and like let the universe pick you up and support you and like help you ride that incredible wave that you're on. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm on a wave, like riding the best surf of my life, the longest wave. And it gets to be this fun and it gets to be this glorious. And it starts with the question that we started this episode with, which is, what are you currently not doing out of fear? Your next level is on the other side of fear. And I hope if you take anything from this podcast, it's that this is not about not being afraid. This is about noticing your fear as an indicator, your resistance as an indicator to where you want to go, and being okay with being scared. At no point did I not feel fear. At no point did the fear disappear. In fact, the closer to the event, the more fearful I felt. Oh my God, what if it doesn't work? What if they don't like it? What if there's an issue? What if blah, 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 blah. Like, and then it was incredible. I was, of course, tuned more into the vision than the fear, but the fear comes with us. The fear is never going to go away. And so your next level, yes, it's on the other side of the fear. And also it's with the fear. We bring the fear with us. I would love to know if you listen to this episode all the way to the end and there's an idea percolating for you. I would really love to know what it is. Send me a message on Instagram. I'm Beck_Keen, and hop into my DMs. Tell me the thing that's on the other side of fear for you. I'd love to know. And in the meantime, if you're interested in coming to Powerhouse, guess what? We're doing it again in 2025. So also send me a DM. I'll put it in the show notes too. Registration will likely be open by the time this podcast airs. And I'd love to have you. The experience will completely change your life. And it is an absolute up level. Okay, dear one, wishing you a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.